So now, as you can see, my Muhammad was just attempting to recreate the historical depiction of the guy from as he was shown in the past.
Which is what I did.
Didn't go out of my way to show him with an arrow through his head or somebody doing this behind him, or I'm not making any fun of him. Though a lot of people did take it that way, because a lot of people are really upset about this, and I think I completely understand that. The only reason I didn't go that far is I didn't think it was necessary. Because the reason people are upset is not that, it's not just that there have been people killed over this, because you can argue that that's extremists that are taking it that far. But the very idea that any group can have an internal rule about what is proper, and then externalize and say, we are offended if anybody else not in our group breaks that rule, is just not appropriate. And so, I only wanted to take it as far as, let's do an image. You can't possibly complain that this is disrespectful, and see what happens. Well, I saw what happened. The most interesting result was after Everybody Draw Muhammad Day, I got onto another group called Everybody Draw Muhammad Again Day. And by the way, Everybody Draw Muhammad Month is still ongoing. These are all Facebook groups. And there was a fellow who is a Muslim and joined Everybody Draw Muhammad Again Day and was basically saying to his fellow Muslims, let's not take this too seriously. These unbelievers are just trying to get our goat. Not true. They have the right to do what they want, but Allah will deal with them after they're dead. And that's where I got into a discussion with him. I'm saying, what do you mean when you say we have a right to draw whatever we want, but Allah will, pass judgment on us afterward? Isn't a right something that you don't get judgment passed on you afterwards? Isn't punishing somebody for exercising their rights fundamentally wrong? That went back and forth several times until he finally stopped responding to me. And that's the problem. It doesn't have to go as far as killing people. The fundamental problem here is this idea that not only do rules of behavior come from a God, but that they come from this particular group's God. And since the group believes that, they believe they're in a position to tell all the rest of us what we may or may not do. We're talking about drawing pictures here, You could change this to anything. You could say, with my new religion, we're offended by people who wear straw hats. So you mustn't be wearing straw hats. Well, I can't make up a group. I can make up a group and say, we're not going to wear any straw hats. That's perfectly okay. People want to join my group voluntarily and not wear the straw hat, no problem. But as soon as my group turns around and says, nobody else may either, or you offend us, and, you're wearing that straw hat, you must be doing it to anger me, that's over the line.
And some go beyond that. It's not just a matter that you've offended us to the point where we will then enact revenge upon you.
And we're going to kill you.
Yeah,
I know. But for me, it's not, this is, you don't even have to take it that far. Right. Doesn't have to be taken that far before it's an issue, right? So there we go. That was Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. Yeah. And it's ongoing. There are waves of Muhammad drawings coming out, and it's interesting to see that Islam can do pretty much nothing about it. And it has been said that one of the reasons that Islam has been so problematic lately is that it never underwent a reformation and never was forced to kind of rein itself back in and get a little more civilized. And I am of the opinion that that's the goal of these kinds of things, of Boobquake and Everybody Draw Muhammad Day, is to simply forcefully remind, though not violently, forcefully remind Muslims that they don't have any special rights. And I wouldn't, I will refrain from doing anything that would obviously insult anybody. But you make up special rules for your religion, those are rules for your religion. They're not rules for me. You can't expect me to live by them. You remember the cracker?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The communion wafer incident?
Yes.
Same thing. That's the Catholic Church. Same thing.
Yep.
Catholic Church says the communion wafer is a special little object that has to be treated a certain way. But if you're a non-believer, to expect a non-believer to have to treat it that way is just wrong. Just wrong.
Which is why I ate them with queso.
Did you? See, I didn't participate in. I didn't know really where to find one and wasn't willing to go to the trouble. But
well, I had a minor go around at the blog for the Austin American Statesman Religion Reporter on the subject.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, and she had basically written off this Draw Muhammad Day as some kind of childish action by bigots that were out to vilify and demean Muslims. And I pointed out that it was abominable to hear that from a reporter, that they couldn't see the free speech element of this, that this wasn't just, we're going to stick it to Muslims Day. It was a legitimate action, and that in this particular scenario, it was because Muslims had already demeaned themselves and turned themselves into Islam. Some Muslims anyway, not all of them, but they had overreacted. And that if there was any similar overreaction by any other religion to anything else that was comparable to this, a similar thing would take place. We've got our little buddy Christ. I wish we had a buddy Muhammad to go with him.
You could just say it's a buddy Muhammad. Who would know?
Everybody who's seen Dogma.
Okay.
But apart from that, we got Muhammad, our sacred cow, and FSM watching over all of them. So, anyway, you want to go ahead and start taking calls?
I'm ready for calls, sure.
Okay, so we've got one call at least waiting. I know there's others that are getting ready to queue up. The number's on the screen. As a reminder, if you don't get through today or you don't want to, you can email tv@atheist-community.org, and we'll do what we can to get you an answer. But we've got, is it Stefan?
Yes, it is, yes.
From New York, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Not bad.
Okay, well, as I pointed out, I'm a theist, and, the argument has been presented that Christians have no proof for their position, and the atheist, he has evolution and the evidence to present it. And my question is, have we as human beings witnessed our own birth? And the question is that we really and truly accept that the person who is our mother, we accept it by faith, really and truly, because, you really didn't see it unless, of course, it was videotaped. It's not until later someone who's probably adopted is then told later that this person was not your birth mother. So I'm saying that generally, even with the Big Bang, no one realistically saw it, so it can be done from a standpoint of faith, because it is really something that you believe in without having to see. And it's the same thing for theists as well.
Okay, there's about 6 things that are kind of wrong that I want to address, and I'll trade off, and I'm sure Jeff spotted all 6 of them as well. The first thing is that atheism and evolution are in no way tied together. My atheism is not dependent on an acceptance of evolution or anything else. It is entirely dependent on the theistic claims have not met their burden of proof.